is he right that maybe the country would be able to deal with a conservative woman more than they could deal with a liberal woman?
Yeah, I think, and I've thought this for a long time, that it would have to be a Nixon to China kind of moment where a lot of the misogyny on the right that comes out, and it's not just on the right, but it is very much on
The misogyny on the right, when you have liberals fighting for men to be able to use women bathrooms. Liberals are fighting for men to be able to play women's sports. And she has the nerve to talk about misogyny. If Republicans weren't so god awful at politics outside of the Trump orbit, they would be able to seize on this. They're literally fighting. There were literally dozens of trans activists last night that threatened Nancy Mace live on the internet to do bodily harm to her because she doesn't want them in women's bathrooms. That, ma'am, is misogyny. Whatever you're talking about, the people on the right are doing, it pales in comparison. Pales in comparison to that.
Woman more than they could deal with a liberal woman.
Yeah, I think, and I've thought this for a long time, that it would have to be a Nixon to China kind of moment where a lot of the misogyny on the right that comes out, and it's not just on the right, but it is very much on the right, would be stowed, much like they stow a lot of their beliefs when Donald Trump runs. They would stow their beliefs if somebody like a Sarah Huckabee Sanders ran. And all of a sudden that would disappear, and he would be, and she would be elected. And so I think he is right.
So she's taking shots instead of praising the fact that, or welcoming or looking forward to, or, just being like optimistic about it. Wow, woman president, she's taking shots. I'm talking about most people wouldn't see it. That's right. Yeah, most people don't see these as shots. But she's taking shots. She's taking shots at Republicans. She's name calling. She's giving backhanded compliments. Whoever this first Republican or female president would or could be, this woman, Julie Roginski, has already delegitimized her. And they say women hate women, but at least wait until the woman appears. She's hating on the silhouette of some fictional mythical woman that may come one day and become a Republican candidate that was the presidency. And she's just called the Republicans the entire Republican Party misogynist. Wow.
A lot of their beliefs when Donald Trump runs. They would stow their beliefs if somebody like a Sarah Huckabee Sanders ran. And all of a sudden that would disappear, and he would be, and she would be elected. And so I think he is right. For that reason, unfortunately, I think that the horrible misogyny that you see from some circles, the conservative with a small c, of we've never had a woman before, we've never had a female president before as a commander in chief, that would go away if a woman actually were nominated. And I think if somebody like Nikki Haley, who had been nominated instead of Trump, which was laughable, it never would have happened, but if she had been nominated, you wouldn't have seen that kind of misogyny directed at her.
What a horrible person this woman is. This woman is stank. I mean, just stanking, just a black cloud, just a down, like a Debbie Downer. Yikes, man. She's frighteningly bad, evil.
The right. that you see towards Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton.
Although I will say there
Mm.
was misogyny directed at
Of course, because
Nikki
she was
Haley,
running against Trump.
by Trump,
By Trump.
by the way.
Called her bird brain.
But I mean, and
So calling Nikki Haley bird brain is misogyny. When Nikki Haley called Donald Trump everything under the sun, did you hear the way Kamala talked about Trump every single time? She called him the H guy. She called him mustache man probably 75 times a day. She called him a danger to democracy. Inherently evil, bad. He never said anything remotely close to that about her. He didn't compare her to Margaret Sanger. He didn't say anything remotely close to that about Kamala Harris or Nikki Haley. They talked about his character, his fiber, the essence of the man, how it was rotten to the core, how he was a fascist, a dictator, going to ruin society, needed to be stopped, dangerous. He never said anything remotely close to that about either one of those women. Press one.
Nikki Haley,
Yeah.
I think, is a very plausible candidate for what he's talking about here.
I don't know if the Republican Party, the way it's currently structured, would go for a Nikki Haley candidacy. Obviously, I think if we had put her forth, I think that
Because she's awful. She's dreadful. She's terrible. I mean, she is terrible. And she has the same. Is she white? Is she Indian? She has the same thing Kamala has, except it's not the black Indian thing, it's the Indian white thing. She's god awful as a candidate. The only hope for women, man, is for the Republican Party to wait for 7 years until Candace turns 42. However old you got to be, because I think she's 35 now. Wait for Candace to age the beautiful, the lovely Candace Owens. The lovely. I don't think we talk about how lovely Candace Owens is. The lovely Candace Owens. Brilliant. That's I would like to see. I know she has her own thing going, but I would like to see her cut her chops at press secretary after this at some point in Trump's or JD Vance's presidencies in the next 8 years. But yeah, Candace Owens is the only she's the only woman that can spar and is sharp enough to, because women candidates like Hillary likes calling people deplorables. Hillary, I mean, the thing she said about Trump, oh my God, just so disgusting. Talked about him like a dog every time she opened her mouth. Candace would be able to take the fire when it comes back without crying misogyny. She would just be able to talk the issues instead of crying about you're not supposed to return fire because I'm a chick. And she's brilliant. So this is your only hope, women. And I know you guys hate it. I know you hate it. They hate it. Every woman politician is punching air because they know it's true. They know this is true. In their heart and soul, when they heard it, they're like, oh, you know how when you hear something, you're like, oh, man, that is true. Yeah, it's true. She's the only hope women have of becoming the president. That's it. You just don't have anything else.
About here.
I don't know if the Republican Party, the way it's currently structured, would go for a Nikki Haley candidacy. Obviously, I think if we had put her forth, I think that she would have beaten a candidate, Joe Biden, or a candidate, Kamala Harris. But I will say, I don't know if I agree with the comments that it has to be a woman on the right. I think it just has to be the right woman. I don't think that anyone at this table would say that Hillary Clinton was a strong candidate. And I think that Kamala Harris was a much stronger candidate in 2024 than she was during the
Why are you saying that? Why are you lying? She even knows you're, look at her face. She even knows you're pandering. She even knows you're pandering. People don't like, pandering is offensive. Let me tell you why you do something. Pandering is not offensive to a crowd. So if you're speaking in front of a bunch of people and you pander to black people, yes, you get points. But on a personal level, the way the individual black person receives it, or the individual person you're pandering to, whatever race they are, on the personal level they receive it. Yes, you'll get brownie points and you'll get invited to the cookout by saying it over the airwaves or saying it at a rally or something. But each individual person receives it as an insult, even if they don't know why. Maybe they won't say it's an insult. Maybe they'll just be like, lukewarm to you, or maybe they'll like, I don't like that person. They won't be able to understand why. But pandering is not, it's not the thing to do. Stop doing that.
strong candidate. And I think that Kamala Harris was a much stronger candidate in 2024 than she was during the 2019 primaries. But I think that she just wasn't given enough time to prove herself.
Bill Clinton was, he's right, because the Democrats have lost their mind. They've lost their way. And with this craziness, and he knows it. That's why he's saying that. He knows. And yes, the answer is yes. It's a better chance for a woman as a Republican to win the presidency until they get their house in order. I mean, it's a mess, and he admitted it.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a Republican being the first woman president, just because I'm being a homer and I'm a Republican. I'd like to see that. But the second thing is, I think it's a cop-out to say it was cultural issues that kept Kamala out of the White House, because that presumes that she had opinions on the cultural issues and not trying to run away from that.
Thank you. Like Katie Couric said yesterday, answer the GD question. Answer the damn question. And she never did that. It had nothing to do with her race.
Look, Michelle Obama would have won. That's just a fact. She would have. Nikki Haley could have won. We are a center-right nation. If you go back to World War II and you look at the Democratic presidents that did not come into office via assassination, Watergate, or COVID, you are left with JFK, Clinton, and Barack Obama. You need to have an exceptional candidate in this country who is left of center to beat someone who is culturally right of center. That's just the way it's been. We are no more misogynistic or anything else than people of Britain and Margaret Thatcher, than the Italians and Giorgia Meloni.
Let me tell you something. Let me just say this about women, and I truly believe this. Donald Trump won, I think, in large part because he was perceived to be authentic, right? And I think that George Bush, who doesn't even drink, was the guy that everybody wanted to have a beer with, and he was perceived to be offensive, right? And he was perceived to be authentic. We still want to have a beer with him.
Cocaine at one time.
Yikes, man. Where's Scott Jennings, man? Get this guy out of here, man.
You got way off track. I think it is incredibly hard for women, and Sarah and Abby, correct me if you think I'm wrong, to come off as authentic, because women have to jump through 27 hoops. And the New York Times ran a story within 5 minutes of Kamala Harris's announcement about what she wears. I mean, there's literally in the style section this very long story about her Jimmy Choos or whatever else she wears.
No,
and how that was all.
No, that's not it, ma'am. You're talking about something no one knows what you're talking about. She's not authentic. She came off as not authentic because of her lies about her background, her lies about her personal history, and her inability to answer a damn question. Just answer a question. She could never just answer a question. That's why she came off as inauthentic. That's very misogynist of you to say that women have a hard time coming off as authentic. Jeez.
Planned and how it gives off. She did this on purpose because it gives a vibe. That shows that if she's so conniving as to plan down to her shoes what she's going to portray, She's not an authentic person. And that applies to every woman out there.
When I look at
Ma'am, men wear red ties, dark blue suits, glasses, shave. Men do plenty of things to give off an image, to project themselves in a certain way. Shut up.
Hillary Clinton, though,
Every president in our lifetime has been 6 feet tall. Every one of them. Is that a coincidence? Other than the NBA, what profession has every person been 6 feet tall? Okay, so men are required to have certain requirements too. We're held to certain standards. We have to be tall to be president. It's a requirement. You have to be at least 6 feet tall to be president. What if a guy's 5'8"? What's the reverse of misogyny? What's the reverse of misogyny? I don't know that word, but is there a word? Because the right says no word because it can't happen. But whatever the reverse misogyny, what about this? What about if a guy's 5'11" and he wants to be president? It doesn't happen. Now, of course, it's going to happen soon one day, but then the next one will be 6 feet. Scratch that. My bad. Scratch that. It may not happen. It may never happen. Because listen, man. This whole notion that men just got to walking down easy street and everything's just so easy for men and women have it so hard, the standards are so high for women. Listen, I'm 6'3", right? My father was 6'3", my grandfather was 6'7". I had nothing to do with that. That wasn't something that I did. I planned. This requirement for men to be president, there's nothing they can do about it. But no one talks about stuff like this.
What she wears. I mean, there's literally in the style section this very long story about her Jimmy Choos or whatever else she wears.
No,
and how that was all planned and how it gives off, she did this on purpose because it gives a vibe. That shows that if she's so conniving as to plan down to her shoes what she's going to portray, she's not an authentic person. And that applies to every woman out there.
When I look at Hillary Clinton, though, I covered that campaign in 2016. She was, if you were talking about toughness, she was perceived as tough. She was pretty hawkish in terms of foreign policy, probably closer to Liz Cheney than Donald Trump today in terms of her ideology. You're talking about right of center. So, I mean, I think Hillary Clinton actually understood what Bill Clinton is saying and actually kind of tried to fashion herself in that way, but it still wasn't enough.
it was the authenticity factor, though, I will say. But go
I
ahead.
know everybody's agreed. I'm going to disagree with Bill Clinton. I think here's what I'm looking at. If I look at statistics and demographics, right, and you're looking at this sort of, we have this 1.5% popular vote win by Donald Trump right now over Kamala Harris. What does she get? She second most votes.
It's not a huge amount.
It's not a huge amount, right? So I think the far right media ecosystem is so much stronger than the left. Absolutely. I think there's just so much better at that, and I think that they actually coalesce. I was there. I mean, if you're going to run, they're coming behind you regardless, right? I could lick doorknobs and they're going to say, "Hey, that guy's smart," so because they want you to win. But I think when you're looking at the demographic shift, and I think you're saying that Democrats, and I think center left and even independents
Pause.
are starting to see that they're going to have to message that way. And I think with the demographic shifts, I don't honestly believe it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a Republican woman. I honestly believe it's going to be an independent to slightly center left woman. I think it's going to be somebody who comes out of the legal profession. And I think with the demographic shifts, I'm going to say right now, and I know it's 4 against 1, I'm going to say the first woman president is going to be a Democrat.
Here's how hard it is to be a woman. For talking about Hillary Clinton, right? Hillary Clinton was the most prepared person probably to ever run for president. That woman has never shown up to anything where she hasn't studied 27 briefing books, which is, I think, what you kind of want in a president,
yeah.
right? And yet she came across as a Tracy flick. Kamala Harris showed joy consistently, had a great laugh, and she came across.
She did not show joy. Every time she opened her mouth, she was talking bad about another person. People don't like that. That wears on people. When you talk bad about another person all the time, it wears on people, especially when they feel they don't know you. When they're like, hey, tell us something about yourself. And you're like, you know, Sally? Let me tell you about Sally. Sally ain't worth it. She did. And like Miss Benita Jenkins in the window, man. Like, that's literally Kamala just, she ran an awful campaign, and she's not a good person. And that's why she lost.
Across as cackling Kamala, which the word cackle you associate with witches, you associate with shrews. So it is impossible.
No, you associated with someone who uncontrollably laughs after almost every sentence a person who uncontrollably laughs after everything they say. It has nothing to do with being a witch. We thought she was silly and unprepared for the job and ill fit and silly and dilly. We didn't think she was a witch. We thought she was silly and dilly, and also a witch.
Possible to be a woman and not have these kinds of expectations thrust upon you where you don't, and that's a big problem for women.
The highlight of our week is when we talked to our favorite